Igår höll Skalpkylningsbolaget Paxman sin kapitalmarknadsdag och bolaget ändrar nu sin strategi framåt efter att de förvärvat konkurrenten Dignitana tidigare i år, samtidigt som de planerar att bredda sig till att förhindra nervskador. Och med mig för att prata mer om detta har jag bolagets vd Richard Paxman. Welcome to EFN, Richard.
Hi, nice to be here.
Nice meeting you. First of all, can you briefly introduce us to your company?
Absolutely. So Paxman AB is a company involved in cryotherapy, medical devices specifically, looking at reducing side effects of chemotherapy treatment. So we have a device using cryotherapy to prevent hair loss for patients undergoing chemotherapy treatment. And we also have a product in development which will be launched very soon, looking at reducing another very much unmet need, which is chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy.
Exactly, because you're expanding this therapy that you have with the helmet, or as you can explain, to prohibit the alopecia, right? The hair loss.
Absolutely, yeah. So our first technology that's been around 25 years, actually developed after my mum had breast cancer, uses, again, a cooling liquid, which is worn by the patient for about 30 minutes before chemotherapy, during chemotherapy, and about 90 minutes afterwards. And what we do is we induce vasoconstriction, so we restrict the amount of blood flow and chemotherapy to the hair follicles. You'll see a drop in metabolic rate, and then some other cellular stuff that's going on, which really protects that hair follicle from that toxic chemotherapy treatment.
And maybe you could walk us through the CIPN, the new therapy that you're planning for the neuropathy. Maybe you can walk us through what that is and what you aim to do for those patients.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been looking at peripheral neuropathy for a number of years now, and we have a research collaboration with the National University of Singapore, and our technology is in clinical trials in different parts of the world. But peripheral neuropathy really is an unmet need. It's not talked about quite as much as other side effects because there's no real intervention to date that actually can reduce or prevent it. But our device is showing real promise that it can be. So what it is it's the chemotherapy is damaging the nerves, and that means that patients can either have a sort of shorter term pain, numbness, tingling, or even persistent issues for the remainder of their lives. And that tingling, sort of numbness doesn't sound too awful, but you imagine that in your feet and your hands, doing those daily activities. You know, we're always on our phones, aren't we, these days? Using your phone, doing up your buttons, you know, potentially work as a surgeon or a musician. You know, that has a real impact on the patient's quality of life. And our product can prevent or reduce that, which is amazing.
And when will this get approved, and when will you reach the market?
Okay, so we're working hard at the moment on our clinical trials and our regulatory approvals. So by the end of the year, we're looking to submit our regulatory packages to both the European regulator and the US regulator, the FDA. And we expect then clearances and approvals sort of early Q2 next year, with a view to commercialize later in the year, which again is exciting. I mean, the demand for this product and the interest because of that debilitating side effect and the fact patients have to reduce chemo because of it is phenomenal. So we're excited to get this to patients.
Do we know anything about the incidence, the prevalence, how many people are affected by this?
Yeah, so the statistics in terms of people affected can be between 1.4 and 3 million. In terms of across the board with platinum and taxane-based therapies, over 60% of patients will have some type of peripheral neuropathy. If we look to taxanes alone, which is where most of our clinical trials are, you see about 30 to 40% incidence of what we call grade 2 peripheral neuropathy, which is where those moderate, quite difficult symptoms are felt, and they can be longer term. So big impact.
And then you have the three pillars of reimbursements. So you're going through a switching. It's going to lead to a switch with the CPT-3 code into a CPT-1 code. Could you walk us through what that means?
Yeah, so I think those of you that understand US healthcare, it's quite complicated. There's reimbursement is key. And when I talk about the three pillars of reimbursement, I talk about coding, coverage, and payment. That really unlocks, if we get all those three pillars right, it unlocks our potential for real growth in the future. And we're getting there, nearly there. So at the beginning of the year, 2026, we'll be launching the CPT-1 codes will be available for our customers, our providers, to use. So that will allow us to start switching our customers from what today is a self-pay treatment for many cancer patients in the US to a reimbursed approach. So you remove the cost barriers, drive utilization, drive access, which is important for patients, but ultimately profitability for the business.
And then you have the Dignitana acquisition that you made.
Yes.
And that was something that expanded you into the US business. You got even more sites in the US. Could you perhaps tell us what this means and what the plan is with the Dignitana acquisition?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to call it a merger of two great companies as opposed to an acquisition, but technically it is. So the idea is really focusing on the US business. So we have about 600 locations in the US using Paxman, but Dignitana have about just under 300 customers as well. That ability to get that customer base in a relatively short period of time at good value has given us the opportunity to really start to scale, especially as reimbursement starts to hit, and especially as we need access to customers for our new product. So we've gone from that 600 to nearly 1,000 customers in the US, which can help drive that business growth. And the people there are great as well. We've got some good people in the field that can help grow our business and take it to that next stage.
Is it difficult to work with the KOLs and the key opinion leaders, so to say, to sell the product into the new clinics?
It takes time to build relationships, doesn't it? Like anything. Access to a KOL is often difficult. They're busy. Skalpkylning is one of many oncology products and treatments, so everyone wants to see a KOL. We're very fortunate that we've got some amazing relationships in the US and around the world, so it's not as difficult as one might think, but it takes time. So the ability to take on those nearly 300 additional customers was in a short space of time. I mean, 6 months for the integration and acquisition.
And the difference between the European and the US, are you planning on having a partner, or are you going to sell on your own in in Europe, for example? I mean,
so in the US we go direct because of the sheer size of the opportunity, and we put a lot of investment into that market. In some European markets we go direct. In Sweden we go direct, albeit it's not a key market, unfortunately. There's some opposition to Skalpkylning, so hopefully if you're watching this, please change that. But we use also traditional distributor models. So we're a tiny company, so it's easier when there's so much cultural differences, different healthcare systems, to use a partner already established in a market who understands how to access those KOLs.
And you didn't comment anything yesterday on the financial targets or any guidance within the financial space. But reading in between the lines, is this more of a bet for next year and forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like 2025 has been about laying the foundations, carrying out the integration, preparing for business launch, preparing for the switching model. 2026 and 27 and beyond is an exciting opportunity for us from a revenue growth perspective. We have to see that driving utilization, but also beyond that. I mean, we treat less than 1% of patients globally. This is a real patient need. We have a huge opportunity, and that only drives revenue. So socially good business, but also a commercially really exciting business too.
And you do see demand. I mean, there is demand from the
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, without question.
All the best, Richard. Thank you for coming and joining us today. Och tack till dig som tittat. Du kan även se Börslunch 11:45. Missa inte det med Henrik Karlman och Johan Nilke. Hej så länge.